In the vast tapestry of history, few societies have left a mark as indelible as the Spartans. Their legacy, etched not in stone or scripture, but in the unyielding spirit of their people, continues to echo through the ages. Today, we embark on a journey back in time to the rugged landscapes of ancient Sparta. We will walk in the footsteps of the legendary warriors, explore their philosophy, and seek the wisdom they held dear. In the heart of every Spartan, there was a code. A code that transcended the individual, binding them to something greater. It was a code of courage, of honor, of resilience in the face of adversity. It was the Spartan way. As we delve into the depths of Spartan philosophy, let us open our minds and hearts to the lessons it holds. Lessons of strength, of unity, of the power of the human spirit. For in the echoes of Sparta, we may find reflections of our own potential, our own strength, our own path to resilience. Welcome to the world of the Spartans. As Philip II of Macedon was seizing Greek city-states one after another, Sparta remained untouched. Despite Philip's overwhelming victory and Sparta's relative vulnerability and lack of fortifications, Philip sent a message to the Spartans warning that if he invaded Laconia, they would be annihilated, never to rise again. The Spartans responded with a single word: if. When asked why they dishonored those who lost their shields, but not those who lost their helmets or breastplates, the Spartan king Demaratus reportedly replied that the latter were worn for personal protection, but the shield was for the collective good of the entire line. Do not fear the masses of men, do not flee in terror, but let each man hold his shield straight towards the enemy, considering his own life as loathsome and holding the dark spirits of death as dear as the sun's radiance. Xerxes wrote to him that it was possible for him to be the sole ruler of Greece, not by fighting against God, but by aligning himself with Xerxes. But he replied that if Xerxes understood the noble things in life, he would refrain from coveting the possessions of others. But for him, dying for Greece was better than being the sole ruler over the people of his race. When Xerxes wrote again, demanding that they hand over their arms, he replied, "Come and take them." Herodotus reports that just before the Battle of Thermopylae, a Spartan warrior named Dienekius was told that the Persian archers could blot out the sun with their arrows. He replied, "Good, then we shall have our battle in the shade." It was typical for Spartan women to think and speak as Gorgo, the wife of Leonidas, is said to have done. When a foreign lady seemingly told her that the women of Lacedaemon were the only women in the world who could rule men, she said with good reason, "For we are the only women who give birth to men." An elderly man wandering around the Olympic Games looking for a seat was mocked by the crowd until he reached the Spartan seats. There, every Spartan younger than him, and some older, stood up and offered him their seat. The crowd applauded, and the elderly man turned to them with a sigh, saying, "All Greeks know what is right, but only the Spartans do it. Let a man learn how to fight by first daring to perform great deeds, not where the missiles won't reach if he is armed with a shield, but getting in close where the fighting is hand to hand, inflicting a wound with his long spear or sword, taking the enemy's life with his foot planted alongside a foot, and his shield pressed against shield, and his crest up against crest, in his helm against helm, and his breast against breast, embroiled in the action. Let him fight man to man, holding secure in his grasp half of his sword or spear. Warriors, rise up, take your stand at each other's sides, our feet set wide and rooted like oaks in the ground. Learn to love death, the inky black shadow, as much as you love the light of dawn. Here is courage, mankind's finest possession. Here is the noblest prize that a young man can strive to win. The Spartans are the equal of any men when they fight as individuals, but when they fight together as a collective, they surpass all other men. Bias, caught in an ambush by Iphicrates, the Athenian general, and asked by his soldiers what was to be done, said, "What else except for you to save your lives, and for me to die fighting?" The walls of Sparta were its young men, and its borders the points of their spears. In response to the man who sought to know why the Spartans used short daggers in war, Antiquity said, "Because we fight close to the enemy." For the Spartans, it wasn't walls or magnificent public buildings that made a city, it was their own ideas. Essentially, Sparta was a city of the mind and the heart, and it existed in its purest form in the disciplined march of the hoplite phalanx on their way to war. In Sparta, mothers were said to tell their sons, "As a warrior of Sparta, come back with your shield or on it." Asked what was the greatest benefit Lycurgus conferred on his countrymen, King Agesilaus replied, "Contempt of pleasure." In response to some of the citizens who wanted to know how they could keep off invasion by armies, he said, "If you remain poor, and none of you desires to be more important than the other." Alexander, the son of Eubiquites, when someone inquired why the Spartans did not amass money in the public treasury so that those made guardians of it may not become corrupt. As he permitted citizens to only engage in that kind of athletic contest in which the arm is not held up. Someone inquired what was the reason. He replied, "So that none of the citizens shall get the habit of giving up in the midst of hard struggle." In response to a man who raised the question of how anyone could possibly rule in safety without the protection of a bodyguard, Agesilaus said, "If one rules his subjects as fathers rule their sons." When his brother said to Teleclas that the citizens did not comport themselves towards him as they did towards the king, although they were of the same family, but with much less consideration, he said the reason is, "You do not know how to submit to injustice, and I do." When one of the elderly men said to Aegis in his old age, inasmuch as he saw the good old customs falling into disarray and other harmful practices creeping in, that for this reason everything was getting to be topsy-turvy in Sparta, Aegis said humorously, "Things are then, but following a logical course, if that is what is happening for when I was a boy. I used to hear from my father that everything was topsy-turvy among them, and my father said that when he was a boy, his father had said this to him, so nobody ought to be surprised if conditions later are worse than those earlier, but rather wonder if they grow better or remain approximately the same." As we draw to the close of our journey through the heart of Sparta, we find ourselves reflecting on the echoes of their wisdom, resonating through the ages and into our own lives. The Spartan code, while rooted in a time and place far removed from our own, holds lessons that remain profoundly relevant, especially for the young men of today. In the Spartan spirit of resilience, we find a call to endure in the face of life's challenges, whether it's the pressure of academic pursuits, the struggle to find one's place in the world, or the hardships that come with personal loss or failure. The Spartan example teaches us to stand firm, to face these trials head-on, just as a Spartan warrior would hold his ground on the battlefield. The unity and collective responsibility that the Spartans valued remind us of the importance of community and teamwork. In our modern world, this could translate into supporting our friends in times of need, working together to achieve common goals, or contributing to our communities. Just as the Spartans believed that their shield was for the protection of the whole line, we too must understand that our actions impact those around us. The Spartan contempt for extravagance and their focus on virtue over material wealth is a lesson in finding contentment and purpose, not in possessions, but in our actions and character. In a society often focused on material success, young men can take from this the understanding that true worth comes from who you are and what you do, not what you have. And finally, the courage of the Spartans, their willingness to face even the most insurmountable odds, is a call to bravery in our own lives. This is not just the bravery of physical challenges, but the bravery to be true to ourselves, to stand up for what we believe in, and to strive for our dreams, even when the path is steep and fraught with obstacles. So, as we step forth from the shadows of Sparta, let us carry with us their indomitable spirit. Let us face our battles with courage, stand with our fellow men in unity, uphold our duties with resilience, and above all, strive to live a life of virtue. For in the echoes of Sparta, we find not just the stories of a distant past, but a beacon guiding us towards our own inner strength and potential. Remember, the Spartan legacy is not just a tale of ancient warriors. It's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a testament that speaks to each of us here and now.